welcome to episode 3 of In My Trauma podcast. Back in the backyard with this good quality human.
Welcome back. Happy to be here.
This is a good one because we've finally started uploading our content. People know that we exist.
Mm-hmm.
In My Trauma podcast is on the map.
Yeah, we're blowing up slowly but surely.
To the moon.
Exactly.
Going to the moon. Have you been since we were last here?
Good. We did a lot. Threw a cookout. Had some people over. Entered the second half of the year.
For sure.
You know, hit a little reset. Took a little staycation.
I learned that people don't love potato salad on a hot day. I made like a lot of potato salad and I was kind of pissed. In my trauma, I was pissed because mom insisted I make potato salad. I was like, people love my vegan mac and cheese. People do. Even dairy eaters love my vegan mac and cheese. And I told her, I think I'm gonna make it. And she's like, really? Like, it's gonna be hot? You want to make like hot mac and cheese? And then she was like, you should make potato salad. Told me to get 5 or 6 potatoes, which if you don't know, that translates to like a whole lot of potato salad. And then barely anybody ate it. So I had to throw away a bunch of freaking potato salad.
The mac went over well though.
Yeah, everybody ate the mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Mashallah. But so now I know. I'm never making potato salad ever again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I didn't even eat any, and I typically like potato salad.
Oh my God.
It's just it's not something I want to eat when I'm drinking beer.
I also think that because it's a refrigerated dish,
Exactly.
If you sit it out in the hot sun, people arriving 2-3 hours into the event are not going to go for the potato salad.
You don't want sun-dried mayonnaise.
Right.
That's not really, what did you put in the potato salad?
Vegan mayonnaise. So that's the thing too, like, it's not like there's animal products, so no one should be like, afraid of it going bad. But all the same, I think it's the mental hurdle of like, oh, it's potato salad.
What did you put in it?
So, wait, what did you hear? Is this?
You just said I put vegan products. That could be any number of things.
Oh, it's a secret recipe. No, it was vegan mayo, Dijon mustard, relish, salt and pepper, of course, celery, and red onion, and potatoes.
Oh, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
I don't know what you heard. I don't know why anyone would think I put anything crazy in there. I went to a Sparks game.
Another one?
Yeah, I went on Sunday.
Oh, nice. Who'd they play?
They played the Mercury.
Okay.
I was thinking about you saying that they needed to go ahead and put Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark on that roster over a 41-year-old Diana Taurasi, because I'm watching Brittany Griner do a simple drive to the basket from the shoulder, finish at the hoop. She comes down funny. It looks like she needs to get subbed out. Like
Brittany Griner?
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know how much more that she has in her, and she's on that roster. But I'm like, if you
Brittany Griner is what, probably mid to late 30s?
Yeah. But if a simple drive to the basket is almost taking you out, almost buckling your knees, I'm like, I don't know. Meanwhile,
I can't speak just yet because I'm testing my knee out tonight, so I'm not gonna speak and then jinx myself.
The last shall be first, and the first shall be last.
Exactly. So shout out to Brittany Griner.
Right.
Maybe she just had an awkward spill.
She might be going through something. But yeah, I don't know. I think they could have used Angel Reese. She was about to average a double-double. Looks like she's just not going to stop.
Do you think they'll give her Rookie of the Year if she keeps playing like this?
So Dad asked me that earlier. We can keep Dad and Mom's name in there.
Yeah.
They're affiliated. But I said I think it would make sense to give them co-Rookie of the Year. I think that would be really fair to give it to her and Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're both doing, and I was like, and I feel like that's a good take for me because I don't like Caitlin Clark for real. Like as a figure, I don't think she's like engaging. Like Angel Reese has personality in my opinion, but I can recognize she's doing great things.
Yeah.
in the face of like defenses being set up specifically to stop her. Like that's amazing what she's doing and the way she plays. But I do think all the hoopla over the last couple years and Joe Biden talking about can we just invite both teams? I don't think people would take kindly to a co-rookie
I don't
of the
think
year,
they would either.
even if it's right. Like I do think it's right. I just don't think it'll happen.
I also, I don't know that would be a good look for the advancement of women's sports, right? I think
It's happened before in the NBA though, right?
Has recently?
Not recently, but historically it's happened, right?
Yeah.
If we're saying they're the Magic and Bird, can we not give them a little more time?
I guess. I don't know. I feel like that makes it feel less about
participation.
Like, yeah,
trophies
exactly.
Or whatever.
That's like if one of them deserves it, give it to them, right? It's like every year in every league, there's multiple people who potentially deserve an award, right?
Yeah.
Give the award to one person and move forward, right? Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. That's literally what sports are.
Yeah.
So I'm not for the co whatever award.
I think
make somebody a winner and somebody a loser. Put that chip on their shoulder. Give them something to think about all summer.
In my trauma, that might be on brand for our different life story. I'm like, give it to them both. It seems like somebody has to lose.
Somebody has to lose and somebody has to win. That's how life works.
If you knew our stories, you'd know how on brand that is.
Yeah.
I respect it. I saw Alexis Ohanian, Serena Williams' husband, co-founder of Reddit. He was on TikTok talking about why he's investing so much in sports and women's sports in particular. He was saying in the next 10 to 20 years, you're going to look at film and television. He was like, basically every media format that we're familiar with will be touched in some way by AI. And he was like, you're going to be losing the humanity. He wasn't saying it. He was saying it matter of fact, as you would expect from like a tech person. It wasn't like, lamenting. He was just like, this is just a matter of fact. This is what's going to happen.
Right.
He was like, but people need humanity in the things that they observe. He was like, that's why you watch sports, because you want to see somebody lose because it's sweeter when they win. Like sports is the one thing that can't be manufactured by AI.
It's true. And
so he was like, that's why he's investing in it. That's why it's a worthy investment. And I just thought that was interesting. I mean, also as a person who is, trying to do TV writing, trying to write for visual media.
Yeah.
Like I was like, and the stuff that I'm working on, I guess it's funny the like when you write and start writing and then start to see themes in like the stuff you're writing, but the stuff that I write unintentionally, it always ends up being like about friendship and like very very human.
The power of friendship.
On the heels of me being like, can't they both get it? But I'm really just like, I just want to see a nice story where people love each other and like help each other do well.
Yeah, I feel like if I was gonna write a story, it'd be a story of vengeance.
Yeah, Hakeem's gonna write a dystopian
a man
future.
driven by spite.
Yeah, I see that. Just everything going to shit, but one guy kind of holding it together for himself and maybe his dog.
Mm-hmm.
Hakeem just writes I Am Legend.
Mm-hmm. Part 6.
But it's funny. I've been writing a lot. I was thinking about how. Did you know Mom wanted to be a journalist when she was young?
I did. I think she wanted to be a video journalist, correct?
Yeah. Do you ever for those who don't know, Hakeem was a gifted writer when it came to the writing that he was required to do for school and just for school. Do you ever think about writing anymore?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you feel a way about that? Do you ever wish you had like a creative outlet? Is that what Fats is for? Fats is Hakeem's dog.
No, I feel like I have creative outlet. I feel like sports are creative outlets. That was why I feel like I had to replace basketball with something when I like hurt my knee.
Golfing.
Yeah. So there's some element of like creativity when you play golf. Like there's always like a different way that you could hit a shot or like, try to play a hole. So
yeah.
I feel like sports is that creative outlet, but no, I don't. There's no urge for me to sit down.
You don't feel like writing it down?
No, most things that are associated with like something I had to do in school at this point are not things that I'm like
in my trauma.
they're not
Hashtag in my trauma.
they're not things that I would ever think, I
Let
should
me
do this
pick
for
that
fun.
back up.
I
Yeah.
should do this to pass the time. No, it's more like, what can I do that does not remind me of having to sit in a classroom?
That's funny because I remember there was somebody in my high school class who used to get good grades in English and like win stuff, but eventually they ended up pursuing like computer science or something. And I think too, it's just
Chase
like,
that bag.
yeah, no, yeah, the real world of it all of like I need to go make some money. But it's a funny thing, the way, the way that falls to the wayside.
And there are parts of my job that are definitely creative. Like I do head a creative team at
Yeah.
work. So it's like, I definitely, we come up with ad concepts. Like a lot of my job is just sitting around and like looking at the shows that the IP we work with and like trying to figure out a way to make that into like a funny 15 or 30-second ad.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of creative aspects still that I do through that or get some fulfillment there, but it's not like I'm not going to sit down and write a little expository essay. I'm not on my David Foster Wallace.
It's funny. I feel like I think a lot about Toni Morrison's Nobel Literature Prize speech, like the sound bite that I think gets used a lot from it. I forget what the first part of the quote is, but she says language is what we do, like as humans. She like repeats it, language is what we do. And that in that conversation, or in the conversation that we're having, I just feel like stories do kind of infiltrate everything. Like, or storytelling, or the ability to tell a story is like intrinsic to the human experience. And like if you can't tell a story, then you're kind of fucked as far as like being a person.
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely intrinsic. I feel like every civilization, they have some form of, right? That's why we created, like, or humans created written language, was to tell stories. And like the first cave paintings or whatever, they all tell some sort of story. So I think it's
do you think it's mostly to do with like I want somebody to know I was here?
Yes.
Or okay, and is it a yes and because it's like okay that, but also like is it only for what comes after us, or is it also for the people around? Like if it's for the people, I guess, is it like solely self-indulgent? Like
I think it is. I think a lot of the things we do as humans are self-indulgent, and we just don't really we don't look at it that way. But
I feel like
like even kind of the act of like a lot of the things we consider selfless aren't actually selfless.
I don't think altruism really truly exists for the most part. Like, because even when you do charity work or whatever, it feels really good.
It feels good to you. That's why you. That's why I feel fulfilled. I'm gonna come back and do this again.
Right. I helped the kid today.
I helped someone.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Right. Good quality human.
Pat yourself on the back.
Good quality human. Check that.
I was saying that I don't think anything we do is truly selfless. Like even the things that people look at as like.
What's something else aside from doing charity that you think?
Having children.
Well, we know that that's self-indulgent because look at respectfully look at some people who have a ton of kids.
For sure, but I think a lot of people too. If you talk to people, they'll be like, "Oh, like." If you ask them why they want to have kids, a lot of people say like, "Oh, like I got given such this good life, I wanted to give it to somebody else," and it's like that's not. Like I guess that sounds nice, but like that's not why you're doing it. It's like you want to be able to put another version of you out there and see if you can make it better than the first time.
Look what I did.
Exactly. And then, do you watch Smiling Friends, or have you seen Smiling Friends?
Is that animated?
It's like an Adult Swim animated show that's new.
I see it on like HBO, I think maybe.
There was an episode recently where they had like a mad scientist who was trying to create human life, and he was like in a roommate tiff with his brother because his brother's like trying to watch a movie with the girlfriend, and this guy's in the other room screaming about like creating life with an egg. He comes in and they're like, you could just make human life with the woman. He like goes like this and just can't fathom it. But that was that made me think of that.
Yeah, I don't know, it's funny too because now what's in my head is like playing God. I think it's a version of, I mean, even like making stories is like, oh, I can create worlds. Mm-hmm. Like, let me try and do this. But I think too about, I definitely talk to you about this, but like Frankenstein is one of my favorite novels. The writer, Mary Shelley, was like an abolitionist, and like there's a way of reading it as like an abolitionist text.
If I'm gonna be
Um,
honest with you, I can't remember if Frankenstein came before or after I started reading books, just so
on
that I
flip
could write
books.
papers on them.
Yeah.
Um, that was like right on the cusp.
Do you want a refresher?
I know exactly what happens, but
Yeah.
I can't recall where exactly we were in that time. So
You should. I mean, if you have the
it's worth the read.
or get like an audiobook because there's nothing.
I don't believe in audiobooks.
In my trauma.
I'm elitist about book reading.
You just said I would only read books enough to write an essay, so I haven't really read a book in like 10 years.
That's not true. I've read books in the last 10 years.
Can you count them on two hands? Is it more than two hands worth of books?
Yeah, since college that I've read.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I stand corrected.
Absolutely.
But you know, basically, it's a guy trying to play God, but then won't, recognize the humanity in this thing that he created, and it causes his creation to lash out in violence because also he can't articulate his feelings
Right.
to the degree that would allow other people to see him as human. Like, he becomes supremely articulate, but there's like no articulating your way out of like, oh, you don't think I'm a human.
Mhm.
And in that way, it's a very good abolitionist text. Because if somebody doesn't want to believe you're a person like they are, you can't convince them. You can't achieve your way to that.
Do you think Poor Things was like the best version of a Frankenstein adaptation?
I'm not familiar with a ton of others. I mean, if it's that against the Nutty Professor,
I feel like
If
Nutty
that's your
Professor.
choice.
I feel like Nutty Professor is more
That's
Dr.
Jekyll Hyde.
That's Jekyll and Hyde.
Forgive
That's
me.
not Frankenstein.
Oh, my bad. What am I weighing it against? I've not seen like
I would have to sit and think a little bit, but I feel like there are definitely some others out there.
I mean, I know that they're just like versions of the Frankenstein story that have been made into movies.
Mm.
I thought Poor Things, if we want to get into like a review segment, I thought,
It's potpourri.
yeah, if we want to go there, I thought Poor Things was good, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know that they know the statement they're making when they make some of these statements. Like the way that the black characters were all magical Negroes, like none of them had any use except for furthering Emma Stone's character's
Yeah.
development. And I'm like, I don't know that was intentional,
Right.
but it was effective as
Yeah.
far as like I also saw somebody I was talking about how I've been getting like an uncanny amount of wisdom from Instagram comments, like a lot of bullshit, but like a couple times I'm like, oh, you're making me think. And a guy, actually, I think a gay guy, was talking about how like culturally it seems like queerness is viewed as like a step in the development of women, like it's like almost like a segment of puberty. Like if a woman experiments, it's like, oh, that's just her like progressing through, but like eventually she'll be straight.
Right.
And it's like always like really when you hear about women's relationships with women, it's always like, oh, this was really transformative, but transformative like as it relates to like a segment of whatever, transformative on the way to them becoming a woman who dates men or who is married to a man. And there was also something to that because the black woman prostitute in that movie like just randomly is going down, giving her oral,
Right.
and then also like enlightening her on like all these things. And again, I'm like, I don't think this was, I mean, maybe maybe it was a statement, but I don't think so necessarily.
I don't either.
Yeah. And that's a funny thing where it's like, a person can write something and be making a statement they don't know that they're I don't know this writer, but maybe don't know that they're making.
Right. Everything in writing. I think in good writing, everything is intentional, but I don't think every writer is that good that they're making every single thing that intentional.
Yeah. Because also, too, if you just set out to write like a human story and it's something you've observed of humanity, but it's not something you've like delve deeper into. So
Mhm.
like if you know it well enough to write an accurate depiction of it, but you don't know necessarily the subtext of what you've
Right.
taken in, then it makes sense that you would accidentally perhaps make a statement.
Yeah. That's
Um,
valid.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to match socks to shoes? Would you wear
You mean
Nike?
like, will I cross the Nike sock with the Adidas shoe?
Yeah,
No,
you wouldn't do it.
I don't do that. I don't step outside like that.
I saw some Europeans do it, and I guess in my black mediocrity era, I've tried my hand at it. I think I'm gonna keep trying because it's like end of the
It's
day.
buck the trend.
Yeah, end of the day, neither of them is cutting me a check. So what do I look like matching my socks to my shoes?
Yeah.
Um,
Plus, Nike stock is way down right now, so
Nike stock is. I feel like
things are.
Adidas can't be doing much better with what Kanye did to them.
I think they're actually I think they're kind of like on a rise as Nike is taking this hit with like the
Oh.
Samba popularity,
Oh,
and Nike just made all their shit too expensive.
Yeah.
And how they're paying for it. Like,
In econ terms, would you say they created a bubble that had to burst?
I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
I mean, I do think the reseller market reached a fever pitch that eventually had to drop.
yeah, they overestimated the demand for their product.
Mm.
They thought
flew too close to the sun.
they thought people were gonna pay $130 for low Air Force Ones. Like nobody. Come on now.
And they,
I'll wear Crocs. I'll wear Crocs before you get me to pay $130 for low Air Force Ones.
That's the other thing about like freaking Adidas. You can get some nice shoes. I think these were like $90.
Mm-hmm.
You can get some comfortable shoes that do the trick for less than $100.
We were talking about it, but are you rocking refurbished Nikes from the Nike retailer?
Well, I'm just not buying sneakers right now. Have you seen that clip of Central C in a sneaker store, like talking about his collections? And he's like, "No, I'm not gonna do a British accent."
Yeah, don't need.
He was like, He was like basically saying he's thinking of offloading his collection, and then he said like capitalism in it or something like that. It was just like consumerism in it. And like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like at a certain point, it just starts to feel gross when I have too much stuff. Let me not speak for other people.
I agree.
Because just like what for?
Yeah, that's fair.
Unless it's like, even if it was free though, I don't know. I think I would start giving stuff away because it's just like, yeah. Because how do you feel once you moved last like 3 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. I think that's the one thing that has become so apparent every time I move. I'm just like, I wish I had no stuff.
Mm.
And I'm just like, I'm so confronted by every material good that I've accumulated over time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I wish I didn't have anything.
I'm a minimalist, so I don't have a lot of things. I do think
if we stepped inside, you have more shoes than I have in my closet.
I have more space though, and I'm older. I have more time.
You saved it with that I'm older because you basically called me broke. I was about to raise my hand at you. Even if it's true, some things you just shouldn't say.
I have
It's
more.
called having
I have
couth.
more time to accumulate things than you do. That's funny. But yeah, I just have. So I definitely have more shoes than you do right now. But
yeah,
I also.
you have a
I
house.
stand on business. I'm standing on what I said.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's not good though. What is that? That's probably is that a commandment? We first
Not
episode
covet. No, hoarding.
is hoarding.
Gluttony.
And,
No, gluttony's a sin. We talked about that.
yeah.
It's not a commandment. But no, I'm sure there's something in there. It's like, don't just hoard resources.
Right.
That's why the billionaires,
They're going down.
they're like down to hell, or do you mean down?
Both.
Okay.
They're going down to hell. I mean, I don't believe in heaven and hell.
I don't either.
For the record. But but if there comes a time where people are like, oh, let's swallow the rich up, there's something coming. James Baldwin said no more fire though, or no more water, the fire next time. Something has to happen.
Yeah.
Our neighbor once said to me, she's an older woman too, but she said, you keep fucking with people, you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
I think that's a word.
Yeah. It's hard to deny. I feel like at some point there has to be some tipping of the scales.
Yeah. They messed up. They messed up taking the car manufacturers away and dissolving the middle class.
This is very true.
They should have kept us just satiated enough just to stay in line, but they messed up. Again, flew too close to the sun. You think that's a human? Is that a human tendency? I guess to want more. Well,
100%.
but it also speaks to character, right, or moral fiber, because not everybody.
Well, no, that's what like Prisoner's Dilemma is, right? Where
Oh yeah,
if everyone has the option to
Gotta
make
make
a
your
choice for the greater good,
square.
but one person can decide I'm gonna act on my own and make myself better off, like 9 times out of 10, that's what happens.
everybody's going down.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to jail.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of when you were talking about altruism doesn't exist. It's funny how, so, for those who don't know, I was an econ minor. Most people aren't privy to that. But, but it's weird that comes up in my life, I think, more, aside from writing as an English major, but that comes, like, the principles of it come up in my life a lot. And I was thinking about, it was an effective learning tool that in one of my, like, first either intro to micro or intro to macro, somebody raised their hand, asked a question that they thought was dumb, and the professor stopped class and talked about positive externalities.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you're not familiar, it's the idea that if you take an action that is beneficial to you, it will likely have, or it can have, benefits to those around you just by you acting in your own best interest. But I guess there's something in that, in my mind, that's related to, like, oh, if I do something that feels good to me, that is not, like, directly harmful to somebody else, then, like, oh, it'll help somebody too.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. But I think in the same way,
Wake it up.
I don't think, yeah, I don't know. It goes back to, like, are humans good in nature question, right?
Oh yeah, that had us stuck for a minute.
Which, I think it's more humans have the capacity to be good, but we're not inherently good. I don't think anything is inherently good or inherently bad. I think it, like, has the power to be that, and it probably is a little bit of both most of the times. It's just a matter of which one shows its face more often.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think, though, when I think of inherent, I think of, like, at the, what is it, outset?
Inherent Vice, great movie.
It is a good movie. Real vibey.
Real vibe.
Real pro psychedelic movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of, when you're born into the world, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but they're going ham with the accordion in the
There's a cemetery
in
back
the cemetery.
there. They're probably, celebrating with a deceased family member.
Right.
Shout out to them.
Right.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. I think about kids. Kids are generally without.
No, there are some demon children out there. We don't want to talk about it. See, I think that's another thing we need to wake up. I think
you're like that guy who goes on podcasts and talks about the black community who was on Yachty's podcast. It was like, we need to talk about the dead.
Can't say I'm like Charleston White. That's crazy.
Well, on that one call to say there are some shitty kids, basically, I feel like that's very in line with.
No, I think there's just shitty people in general. I think it's like I
said kids are good to start, and you said we need to be more forthright. I don't know.
That's not what I said.
Wait, okay. Wait. Start from what I said. I said people. I said people are born as babies.
And you said they're inherently good, and I said I don't know. There's some bad children out there, some demon seeds out there. That doesn't mean without you just. You said we need to be more forthright. That's not what I said.
And then you were about to say we need to start being more. Well, how are you going to end that?
Oh, I was going to say I think outside of children as well, there's too many people in the world who think that they are objectively good or deserve to be treated as though they're objectively good. But when you really break down the things that they're thinking about and talking about, they're not good people. And they have fucked up thought patterns.
That's the premise. You ever watch The Good Place?
Yeah.
I feel like that's low key the premise of that.
Yeah, it is.
And that show was really popular because the last time we were in this conversation was my senior year of college. I remember it because I was like, people are good. And Hakeem was like, no, they're not. But I was thinking about that time because, you know, I did that talk and I asked you, you know, if you could talk to a room full of people, what would your topic be? And what came up was... Can I wake it up?
Go for it.
And what came up was white people being rewarded for mediocrity, which I'm sure also had to do with where you were in life. But I'm curious.
No, I'm standing on that.
Okay,
that's unchanged.
I was gonna say if I were to ask you the same thing today, what would your topic be? You're standing on that. Let's say you have a group.
No, I don't know that that's what I would be talking about the most.
Let's say you have a group of 100 diverse 20-something, early 20-somethings. What is it important to impart?
The gender divide is a construct of the government to keep us separated so that we can't come together and fucking take power from them.
I think that's valid, amongst other things. It's funny because when you said, I mean, I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's full statement. I'm going to stop right there.
Because when you said a lot of people think that they are good, I just started thinking about Instagram comment sections and how I didn't realize, but when you talk to some people in real life, you get a sense of where the rhetoric comes from in Instagram comment sections.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because it's like you're having a conversation that you hope will be nuanced, and they're like, well, if you think this thing that is like slightly different from what I think, then you're a bigot, and like I'm different from you because I'm not a bigot. And it's very polarized.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with you, and I think that it exists on so many different planes. Like, there's some, like, any way that we can be divided. I mean, that one is the most apparent, though, because, like, I'm really trying to stop, but I do look at comment sections on, like, ESPNW, and it's so easy to start getting upset when you see all these, like, male accounts just saying disparaging things about women's sports, and then you go and touch grass and, like, talk to people in real life, and then you're like, oh, actually, no, it's not that bad. You just have to get off the internet.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. To be clear, you know, patriarchy, capitalism, what are our other ones? Homophobia.
Racism,
classism. Those are very real and big on a systemic level, but very often when you talk to people as human beings, not in your trauma, you can make some progress and find some middle ground, hopefully.
Yeah. But I do think that's a young man's game or young woman's game.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I am
or
past...
young non-binary person.
Facts. But I think I'm past the point of like trying to
convince
have those
people.
Conversations with people. I don't think I can do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of people, you know, you hate to say it, just aren't smart enough to understand nuance. And,
it's funny that
they aren't going to get there.
It's funny that you tried to preface that with "you hate to say it," because that's something I've heard you say maybe 1,000 times. Like maybe more than anything I've ever heard you say. You say most people aren't smart. A lot of people are stupid. Ayana, a lot of people are not smart. That is like the phrase that I've most heard out of your mouth. So
you still hate to say it.
Right. It doesn't make it any less true that it's
doesn't
hard
make
to
it
say.
any easier on me to say.
You're doing
it still really pains me to say it.
The sad irony of it is.
You know, this is why we're in the schools. This is why we're trying to teach the children to read.
Right.
Altruism.
But
still, it's so that I don't have to deal with as many people who are, you know.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like, I feel the idea for this, to me, came up because in the pandemic when we were like, you know, what was it? COVID podding?
Airing your grievances?
Airing grievances, but also just in a COVID pod before we did our airing of grievances.
Oh, got you.
When it's like you can't talk to that many people, so you would just come over and sit on my patio and we'd have like 2-hour-long conversation. But I think like you at that time, and probably still, but more than like any of my friends disagree with me. But it's useful. Like,
I would say I'm at like at the age now where a lot of times on the weekends I don't want to go out, but I want to hang out with my friends. And usually what that comes down to is just us disagreeing with each other for 2 to 3 hours over a lot of random topics. Maybe we get somewhere, maybe we don't. But everybody's happy at the end.
It's funny. Any Seinfeld heads out there, like Do you feel like actually this is interesting? Do you feel like there's anything that your taste has changed um with relative to over the years? Because I bring that up to be like, so first I feel like that's kind of the premise of Seinfeld, is they're always in disagreement, but that's pretty funny. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes some of
yeah.
them agree, but a lot of the time they're in disagreement. But that was a show that Dad was watching it all while we were growing up, and it wasn't until I turned like 23 that I turned it on, and I was like, oh, this is really enjoyable and hilarious, and
I
like,
think I started liking it in college. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. I
Yeah.
didn't enjoy it much when I was a kid.
at all.
Yeah.
But it's like you hit a certain age, and this is not to say anything about the larger context around Seinfeld today,
No.
but just
No.
strictly about the show.
Exactly.
Strictly about the show. It's funny that happens, though. Like, I guess that we can grow, that people grow.
Yeah, but then I think there are other shows that work in the opposite direction. Like, I don't know how you can like Friends as an adult.
I don't know how you like respectfully.
I can see if you're a kid and you liked it because you're like, you don't know what being an adult and having an apartment is like, and like living
Oh,
across the
yeah.
hall from your friend. You're like, this is such a cool thing. But then once you're an adult and you've lived with a few of your friends that close to you, you're like, this shit is silly. This is not a real representation of what it's like when your best friend lives across the hall from you.
It's like it's much more realistic to have a Kramer barging
Exactly.
in, stealing your food, and annoying you. No, that's funny. Any music you feel like? I'm never gonna like Kim. Again, respectfully.
Chemistry.
Yeah, I'll never.
But music that over
You
time
can-
I
you
became more of a fan
Yeah,
of.
you can never make me like him. I respect him as a person.
That's a good question. I think just instrumental music generally. Like, I
Dad,
used to really hate when Dad played jazz when we were
he
young.
was really pushing the issue on jazz.
Big time. And I don't even know that even now he really is listening to jazz like that.
No, it definitely was just like I'm gonna educate
I'm
you.
gonna make you all culture.
It was his duty as a father. It's like how we saw Francis Ha in theaters.
Fair.
But that was far more enjoyable to me
To me as well.
than getting in the car and having to listen to Straighten Up and Fly Right for 20 minutes.
Oh my god.
to start
Listen
my
to
day.
what's it fucking called? The Hidden Beach. Those Hidden Beach tapes where it was just a bunch of instrumentals of like jazz versions of hip hop songs.
It's like if music sneezed.
Exactly.
Please turn this off.
I think that's probably my biggest one that over time I became more a fan of is jazz.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe, I think you have to be able to drink alcohol to enjoy jazz.
At least smoke a reefer.
Yeah, like they were getting down. That was like the 20s to like the 50s, 60s.
They were
that was
really getting down.
Yeah, so I'm saying
They were on heroin.
right. It was music to have a really good time to in a specific way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
Yeah, like you said, like you can see Thundercat the first time and you're like, wow, this guy's a real virtuoso, and then the third time you're like, what the fuck is he on?
let me leave. The interludes are him just talking about depressing shit. I don't understand the music, and you're making me sad.
Exactly.
Like,
I love that you can play this 8-string bass, but I don't need to listen to your musings.
I came here to catch a vibe.
Seriously.
Yeah, caught a vibe. You been on TikTok?
Always.
What are you?
I have to stay on TikTok in hopes that one day they either go public or sell to a company and I can cash out. So we stay on TikTok.
Okay.
We also tell everyone else to stay on TikTok.
Right. Lock in. So what's been on your feed as of late? Are you still watching that guy talk about Be a Man?
Oh no, Be a Man. Be a Man's gone away. I haven't seen as much of his content lately. Pablo Skywalking has really he's on a Little B in 2011-esque run.
Okay.
Who else? He's probably the most recurring one I see. Angry Chef reactions. I'm a big fan of people cooking things and side-by-side reaction with that. Also, just like random survivalist things, which is not on brand for me at all. But I think that's why I like watching it.
No, I think that's the nature of TikTok. You'll like get in a corner of like, oh, I never expected to encounter this kind of media, and then you're like, you're learning too much.
Do I think I'm ever going to need to know how to make a basket out of sticks so I can carry 3 salmon from the river that I then cook over an open flame? No, I don't think I'm ever going to be there. But It's great to watch.
Yeah. That's like me. I was saying my like beige flag is that I watch food review videos um for a long time.
Is it crazy that I still don't know what beige flag means?
That's not crazy. Beige flag is like, obviously there's a red flag. I think it would be more accurate to call it like a pink flag is like, oh, that's a little alarming, but nothing to like make me turn away. And beige flag is like pretty neutral. I think it's like, it's not hurting
So it's
anybody.
just not even a thing. It's just
I
some nonsense
Okay,
that they made up.
call me out for trying to educate you. I should have called it a pink flag. You know, fuck me, I guess. But
So it's just a personality trait. Is a beige
yeah,
flag?
beige flag is a personality. Correct me if I'm wrong. But a pink flag is like, this is a little bit messed up, but like, you know, who cares? And yeah, I just like watch. I know so much about smash burgers. It's silly. And I don't eat meat, but it's like, you know, there's supposed to be a lacing on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a skirt.
Mm-hmm.
Often they're smashed with onions in the patty.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even smashed with some mustard.
Yeah, you want a bite. You want a good bite on it.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot about smash burgers, and I will never eat one. But yeah, it's just a thing. You know, you start learning, and you're like, well, people are enjoying this. Let me see what it's about.
Seriously.
Yeah.
The amount of random information I've learned about Tartania.
It's funny. It's wait, what? What is Tartania?
There's a potentially part of the tinfoil hat community,
Oh,
which
okay.
brings us to something we need to talk about. So let's not forget that.
Yeah.
But there is a group of people. Maybe they're right, because who knows? Who knows if everyone,
At the end of the day, who
if the
knows?
world powers are telling us what the truth is. But there's people who think that the way the map or globe or whatever you want to call it, whatever depiction of like where the continents in relation to the oceans are, is not an accurate depiction of like what it is or how it's always been. And they're basically saying that there's this part of the world that's like a eighth continent. There's 7 continents.
Yeah.
An eighth continent that was called Tartania at some point, and it was like up. I'm not even gonna conjecture as to where it was. I just know that people claim it was there.
Yeah.
And it was like a place where a lot of, you know, societal advancements were made and all these things.
Wakanda. Basically.
Or Atlantis or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, there's a thing that people say was there that is no longer there.
I feel like there's so many conspiracy theories, for lack of a better term, that I would not be privy to if it weren't for you and whatever hours you're on the internet gathering this information. But you know that one thing that I didn't know for a long time and was interested to find out was that the dimensions on world maps are so skewed, and that Africa is actually so huge.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know that it's huge, but it looks pretty big, I guess, relative to how it's depicted against Europe. But to know that it's like way, way bigger than that.
That's what I figured out when we went to Morocco and got on an overnight train and we're still in Morocco. I was like, how fucking big is this country?
Yeah. But tin hats as a fashion statement, you are pro?
Tin hat. I don't know if you all out there have seen it, but the tinfoil hat is making a comeback in
Will we call it a comeback or just an arrival?
or just an arrival. The tinfoil hat has arrived as a
in Paris at Fashion Week.
as a piece.
Right.
I don't think I would wear one because of the baldness and potentially
You might catch fire.
I would be like essentially putting my head in an oven. I don't think I would wear it, but if you could get that off with like some reflective shoes, if I had
silver oils bonders.
if I had below Travis Scott Air Force Ones with the shiny swoosh, I'll rock a tinfoil hat with those.
All right.
I
I
would
mean,
get-
you're pretty unserious in some ways. I can see that for you.
Yeah, a tinfoil hat goes crazy.
Yeah. You know, what was it you were touted as having? Ultimate Riz.
Ultimate.
Akeem has pretty good Riz. I think he could overcome a lot. Would you try to talk to a woman if you were in a tin hat?
Of course.
Would you think less of her if it worked?
Maybe.
Right. It's like that episode. I was explaining to someone that episode of Seinfeld where Elaine was dating a lawyer who only had to pass the bar, and she was like, you know, I've always wanted to date a lawyer. But as soon as she like pushed him over the edge of like passing it, he was like, oh, we got to break up because I would never date somebody who would date me when I wasn't a lawyer. And it's like a version of that.
His version
Like
of
if you would be with me with a tinfoil hat on my head, I don't want you.
Yeah. So what are you doing dating people wearing tinfoil hats?
Right, have some self-respect.
Seriously, have a little bit of self-respect.
And maybe that's what we leave you with. Have self-respect.
Mm-hmm. Love yourself.
Love yourself. Drink water. Breathe. Oh, did you know? So when I text, so Hakeem hosted a 4th of July cookout, and and I love you because you're consistent. I really do. You're like your top 3 favorite people. You, mom, and dad are in a tie. But I asked Hakeem to get me some Beyond sausages. I was like, please. And mom and dad were like, you need to remind him. You need to remind him. I was like, no, he's got it. I get here and ask him about them. They weren't here. But there were veggie sausages, to his credit.
There were plant-based sausages that I knew would be here.
They just weren't what I asked for. So I jokingly, a couple days later, I jokingly sent a picture of some that I saw in a market to the family group chat. But I don't think I told you, Mom texted me outside the group chat when she saw that. Just breathe in lowercase, period. She texted me, breathe, period. And I was like, I had to show it to the person I was with to be like, did I sound like I was turned up when I sent this text message? Like, why would she text me breathe? And so I texted her back being like, I thought this was a joke. And then I texted the family group chat. I was like, I was joking. And it was fine. But I was just like, damn, you can't even make a little joke anymore.
Mm-mm.
Everybody's so worried you're in your trauma.
Yeah. No, we've overcome that. We can make jokes.
Yeah.
And like I said, everyone was fed. I wasn't going to let you go without having some food options.
At the very least, I could have had a plate full of potato salad.
No.
No.
I'm not going to get into it. Cut the cameras.
but remember to breathe. Remember to breathe. Thanks for coming in my trauma. Bye-bye.